Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Mike McCarthy is the producer behind the boards. Today, we're kicking off our 2019 Building Through the NFL Draft mock draft series, and what better way to start than by bringing up some of the more underrated, under the radar names to your attention with our small college mock draft. And before we get started, small college means prospects from the FCS, Division II, Division III, NAIA, and Canadian colleges. Anyone that attends an FBS program is not a small college prospect. Now that we've cleared that up, let's take a look at the mock draft rules. This mock is based off what I would do as a GM, using what I believe are the team needs. And third, prospects are graded using our Football Game Plan Scouting prospect rankings, which you can find at footballgameplan.com/FBGP Scouting. And finally, it's only a mock draft, so you can unclench, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And we'll get started with the Arizona Cardinals, who own the #1 overall selection. I don't buy into the thought process of moving on from a young quarterback with talent after one season. I felt that way about Deshaun Kaiser, as I do about Josh Rosen, and because of that, I went defense here with John Kaminski of Charleston. He's got the upside that you want, still getting used to the nuances of playing the position and the weight, as he was a former quarterback coming into college. He's scheme diverse, showing the ability to play multiple techniques up front. Getting better on the edge for the 49ers with Darrell Johnson out of North Carolina A&T. He entered the draft early, coming from the HBCU ranks, and looking to continue to develop his game at the NFL level. He's coming off of a sensational career in the MEAC. The Jets need to bolster the pass rush, and adding a guy like Cardell Rawlings of Wingate could do just that. Rawlings had 27.5 TFLs last season and 18 sacks. He was primarily a defensive end for Wingate, but during the All-Star game circuit, he showed the ability to play with his hand off the ground rather comfortably. The Oakland Raiders get one of the best defensive players in the draft in Colin Saunders out of Western Illinois. Saunders can rush the passer and is equally as effective in defending the run. I think he'll be the surprise first rounder in April's draft. He's that good, in my opinion. Adding another pass rusher to the Bucs defense with Bethune-Cookman's Kevin Thompson. Again, here is a prospect who dominated his level of competition while also stepping up in the big games as well. Look no further than his 3-sack performance against Nebraska this past season. The Giants get their quarterback in Michael O'Connor out of University of British Columbia. The 6'5", 232-pounder does a great job of throwing with velocity, anticipation, and accuracy at all levels of the field. He was excellent at the East-West Bowl up in Quebec City, Quebec this past May, and also down at the FCS Bowl this past December against top-level FCS and some FBS competition. Keelin Dolls of UC Davis gives the Jacksonville Jaguars a bona fide X-receiver that also has the versatility to play anywhere across the formation. Dolls was one of the more consistent receivers that I watched on tape this year and is coming off of a stellar week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Detroit bolsters their ability to get to the quarterback as well with Sam Houston State's Derek Robertson. Robertson was outstanding the last 2 seasons for the Bearcats and more than held his own in St. Pete at the East-West Shrine game. He'll add some much-needed juice to the Lions' defensive line. The Bills get perimeter help for second-year quarterback Josh Allen with Northwestern State's Jazz Ferguson. The 6'5", 223-pound former Demon has good vertical speed and outstanding hands, rarely dropping any pass thrown his way. Titiusz Howard of Alabama State is one of the better tackles in the draft and would bring immediate help along the Broncos' offensive line. He has a great story, but even greater skills coming out of the SWAC. Staying along the offensive line and within the HBCU ranks, Joshua Miles of Morgan State would add versatility and athleticism to the Bengals' front 5. Miles can play either tackle spot and has the athleticism to kick down inside if need be. He's a really good player on both ends of offense. The Packers are armed with 2 first-round picks, so I address the defensive line with their first and Jonathan Harris out of Lindenwood. He's a disruptor that shows the versatility to play multiple techniques up front, which would be very useful for this Packers defense. The Miami Dolphins get their franchise quarterback in South Dakota State's Taryn Christian. His game reminds me a lot of Cowboys franchise quarterback Dak Prescott. Christian, unfazed by pressure, has very good athleticism and shows very good accuracy in the intermediate to deep area of the field, and the league likes him more than most people know. He's a sleeper in this draft class. The Falcons get better along the interior offensive line with CFL draft prospect Samuel Thompson out of Laval. He was stellar at the East-West Bowl back in May and was excellent down in Fort Worth, Texas at the College Gridiron Showcase back in January. He's a big guy that can move, which would be a welcome addition along the offensive line in Atlanta. The Redskins land their quarterback in Jacob Dolegala out of Central Connecticut State. His game reminds me a lot of Joe Flacco when he was coming out of Delaware. And just like Nihari Christian, the league really likes the former Blue Devil signal caller more than what's being talked about right now amongst the national media. Dolegala can do everything that you'd want or need your quarterback to do and can do it at a very high level. I think it's important to get better in front of Cam Newton with center Owen Glass out of Austin Peay. He's one of the more functionally strong offensive linemen in the draft class and drew rave reviews from scouts in attendance at the Tropical Bowl this past January. I wanted to bolster the second level in the Cleveland Browns defense with DeAndre Wallace of Thompson. Wallace plays fast in all directions, has a knack for the big play, and is explosive upon contact as well. He'd be the perfect fit in the dog pound. Zach Williams of Manitoba wouldn't have to travel far to play his professional ball as Manitoba sits directly above Minnesota. The CFL draft prospect was excellent in 3 postseason All-Star games this year and has the talent to play either guard or tackle at the next level. The Titans get better on the edge with Marcus Jones of Angelo State. The Division II Gene Upshaw Award winner has a variety of ways of getting to the quarterback, which should help his transition to the NFL game a lot easier. He's got excellent football IQ. Troy Reeder of Delaware fits the mold of a Pittsburgh Steelers inside backer. He's great downhill versus the run, but also has the mental aptitude to sniff out passing concepts and make a play on the ball. The former Penn State Nittany Lion is a complete inside linebacker prospect, in my opinion. When you speak of defensive versatility from a prospect perspective, you instantly want to put the player on the Seattle Seahawks defense, and that's where Ronald Ali of Nichols would thrive as a pro, in my opinion. He can rush with quickness and speed and also shows good power to be disruptive versus the run. Getting more perimeter help for Baltimore Ravens franchise quarterback Lamar Jackson is a must this offseason. Wide receiver Reggie White Jr. of Monmouth would give the Ravens an excellent third down and red zone threat that absolutely loves playing the physical game with defensive backs, turning 50-50 balls into 95-5 balls in the process. The Texans have to get better in front of Deshaun Watson. Strengthening the offensive line is key, and adding the versatile Ali Udoh out of Elon would be a major step in the right direction for Houston. With the second of 3 first-round picks, I went secondary for the Oakland Raiders, nabbing one of the best ball hawks in the class in James Madison's Jimmy Moreland. Moreland was the story of the Shrine Game after posting a stellar career with the Dukes, and it's no exaggeration when I say that dude is always around the football. Helping out the Eagles running game with Maher Anderson of East Stroudsburg, the 6'2", 225-pound back reminds me a lot of James Starks, who played for Green Bay and could have a very similar impact for Philadelphia on the ground. Justin Sumter of Kennesaw State would be an excellent complement to T.Y. Hilton for the Indianapolis Colts. I was impressed with the route running excellence of Sumter at the College Gridiron Showcase, considering that he's coming out of a triple option offense. He has tremendous polish and good all-around game. Back-to-back receivers taken in this draft, with the Raiders grabbing the tough Nihari Crawford out of Duquesne. Don't let the size fool you. Crawford has the toughness of Antonio Brown as one of the more dynamic receivers in the FCS this season. The Chargers got better up front defensively with Alcorn State's Sterling Shippey. He was one of the better defensive players in the SWAC this year, bringing great ball get-off and quickness to the table. The Chiefs need help in the secondary, and adding Joshua Simmons of Limestone College gives them a guy with some position flexibility. I think Simmons can play either corner spot, even seeing time as a safety as well. The one thing I do know for sure is that the 6-foot, 190-pounder has legit ball skills. So does Nasir Adderley out of Delaware, who landed with the Green Bay Packers in this mock draft. Adderley gives them a safety with great athleticism and range, and one that could have a Byron Jones-like switch to corner as a pro. Staying in the CAA and at the safety position with Monte Fenner out of Towson. Fenner is a heat-seeking missile that's a great alley defender and enforcer over the middle of the field. He's also an underrated prospect that brings a lot of pro-level skills to the table. Finally, in round 1, the Patriots find the heir apparent to Tom Brady and Easton Stick of North Dakota State. Say what you want about Stick's game, he's been effectively efficient throughout his time in Fargo and also brings very good athleticism to the table. I think he's the type of guy that you can't count out if you're an evaluator, as he just finds a way to get the job done. Now, there are a few teams that don't have first-round picks in this year's draft, so we'll add them to the mock. The New Orleans Saints get better on the perimeter with Jesper Horsted of Princeton. The 6'4", 225-pound wideout tracks the ball extremely well and does a great job of reading coverages on the fly. He also is versatile enough to play any one of the receiver spots as a pro. The Cowboys find another edge rusher in Adonis Davis of Florida Tech. He was one that was moved all across the defensive line for the Panthers and was still able to excel. He's also coming off a very good all-star game circuit as well. And the Bears bolstered the tight end group with Charles Scarff of Delaware. Now, Scarff has the versatility to be a flex guy or inline prospect because of what he can do in the blocking department. He's a good athlete that will give them some insurance in case Adam Shaheen can't shake the injuries and the inconsistencies that have plagued them so far in his young career. So that's it from the Football Game Plan Scouting Studios. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And also don't forget to check out our new branch of the Football Game Plan tree, the Football Game Plan 400, where we grade and scout the top 400 high school prospects in the country. You can find that at footballgameplan400.com. Be sure to subscribe to Football Game Plan Podcast on iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. And finally, you can find all of our video content on the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan.